Good morning, it's 9 o'clock, we have a quorum, I call this work session to order. Need a motion to approve the agenda,
So moved. Second.
all in favor? Okay. First item on the agenda, discussion of emergency mass notification system.
Yes, sir. So what I'm looking for is just a small upgrade to our weather sirens. Right now, I've got a couple of sirens that aren't working, they haven't worked in a while. Our vendor is telling us that it's communication issues. So I checked with the radio guy tells me it's the siren guy. So what this system will do is put everything on one person. Jim McCraney Warning Systems has done every siren in Upson County, as well as the surrounding counties, surrounding states. He's a pretty big player in the siren game. But he's proposing to put a brand new radio in at our 911 center, which is needed. Our radio there is about, I'd say 30, 40 years old. He has shown me with his meter that it's not doing what it should do. So we'll have a brand new radio. We're gonna take the controls off of the 911 console, and we would install buttons on the wall at the 911 center. And that would be a backup, because the system will also set the sirens off for us. As soon as those warnings come in from National Weather Service, it'll hit our, what does he call it, the Commander 1 LE. The Commander 1 LE will get those warnings and will set those sirens off for us. The buttons on the wall will be backup or for testing on our Wednesdays. It'll also give us an app that we can put on some cell phones. So if we do have some failure with that Commander 1 LE, we can still activate with the app through our phones. I have talked to the sheriff about it. Sheriff's on board with this, because as y'all know, when a tornado does hit, that's the busiest time for the dispatchers. You know, it has been, you know, where they have forgotten about the sirens because they've got so many calls coming in. So we can take that responsibility off them as well. Money is, I don't think it's, you know, very bad. We're at $13,321. There is gonna be a yearly charge that comes with that for the service, and I believe it was $1,280 something a year. Yes, sir. And that's for that Commander 1 system that's, you know, gonna be monitoring for warnings.
So that 13 total includes the first year?
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay.
It does.
Richard, how does this incorporate into next gen, that's pushing out?
So with next gen, it won't affect us at all because we're leaving the consoles entirely.
Will it incorporate into next gen if and when, I mean, it's gonna happen?
I don't think we'll have to incorporate it in next gen with this system, you know, because we're out of the 911 loop at this point. You know, we're kind of independent. The only thing I'm dependent on a dispatcher to do is my test, and that's something that we could set up differently if we need to down the road, depending on the next gen system and how that's gonna work. You know, I don't think anybody knows how that's gonna look yet. There's a lot of information, a lot of talk out there, but I think that's all that's there right now. I know, when I was in Jekyll Island at the conference, they were discussing next gen 911, and the governor gave a lot of money to explore. You know, there's none to fund any next gen, it's just to explore and see what it's gonna look like. We got a little ways to go.
Okay, so quote's good through August 22nd. I don't think it'll change very much. When is our meeting's on the 26th, so very good. And then,
I don't think it'll change either. I had to have him update it once before, and it stayed the same.
what kind of money's is that?
We can fund that, generally on capital improvements like this, I would fund it out of SPOS. But we would bill the city for 32% of this cost, since they should be, you know, sharing with us on capital improvements. But we could literally, pay for it right out of the operating budget, either or, nonetheless, the city would need to cover, and, you know, 32% of that. I just try to keep some of this stuff out of that tends to drive up your millage when you start increasing. So, yeah, we can handle it, it's no problem.
So the agenda item would be approval of this with reimbursement from the city, or approval of 65% of this? Because I don't know how long we keep redoing the quotes.
Yeah, I mean, this is not uncommon to get a quote, and they'll give you 15 to 30 days, and it's rare to see them go up on a quote, but I would say approval of the entire amount. And we'll get reimbursement back from the city, they shouldn't give us any issue. They have reimbursed us for a few things, that we filled for this year already, smaller items.
Everyone good with that going to be consent agenda next meeting, or any other discussion? Okay. Anything else?
I'll update you on the 2 sirens that are coming. We have to have that project completed by November, the ones for Gatesville. He's telling me now, 1st of September, he's gonna get those in. I'm on him, I'm trying to get them done for you.
We've been working on that without, so maybe.
I know it.
But it is what it is.
Yes, sir. That's all I got.
All right, next thing on the agenda, is the, 2025 road paving project.
They got the list.
We got the list. This ain't the one that I wanted printed out. EMC printed this out, this is what we have done. That's what, where they were supposed to print out, what we were gonna do.
This is the same incomplete list.
So you got it?
Oh, it's back. Do all that.
You want to sit here? I can walk with you, let you.
I'm just here
So you express talk. Okay. I mean, give you a table to work from. So Chairman, I think I've explained to everyone, Chris had reached out to me, and sent the list of roads, to James and myself, and James' staff, Pam, took the, rough list, well, I shouldn't say rough, but list with all the detail on it, and ran it in Excel, pivot table, and basically grouped everything, and subtotal things, I believe by commissioner, and recommendations. So we wanted to have a chance to sit down and talk, Chris and James particularly, about these roads before we came, and met with you all, but given the timing, Chris was out of the country, but James was going on vacation, here next week or so, we couldn't get together until the 18th of August, so, as I understood, you all wanted to see the list of roads and talk about it in this work session, so I'll make it available to you. Also, if you, in your package, I gave a little one sheet on funding, what we have. It should be a page, looks like this. This is what we would have through December 31st. 2024 SPLOST, $7,001,000. We have $1,540,000 in LMIG. I did exclude out of that total $305,000 we still have out there that we were granted, I believe over a year ago for restriping. I just used a rough reserve amount, just to hold back, and that is just to make sure we don't, we could spend every dime practically, we made all of our debt service payment, but just in case we don't collect as many revenues, as much revenue, and that's not likely, but there's always the potential. We don't collect enough revenue in 2026 to make sure we cover debt service. If we could, with the roads that we pick out, if we spend $7 million or less, we're good for right now. And then next year, you can see what the estimate is on sales tax, collections, what we owe the city of Thomaston out of it for sharing, what the debt service is, and there's an annual fee. So, it'll grow by $771,000, 2024 SPOS will next year. Then we have an LMIG grant that's available, and I would, use one of these roads, that we could put, it's a 2026 project, and use that for the application for LMIG grant. Also too, these prices are a little dated, so these estimates out here are not, they're 2022, estimates, so.
Jeff Davis, wasn't it, the LME?
It was, that number is included in the 2024, the LMIG above. You know, the estimate was right at $2 million for Jeff Davis, and so we did get grant money for that. That's most of what you have that's in LMIG right now. And there's an LRA in there too. So we definitely wanna focus on Jeff Davis, obviously, being.
How's the bridge looking down there, James?
It's saying November 1st, I say December.
Yes, I think I saw an article, I think it was in the newspaper, might have been on the radio.
Yeah.
They hit more rock than they thought they were gonna hit.
I've never seen phone calls,
Thought,
feeling bad.
there's already plenty of rock down there, I mean, you can see it.
That's what people said.
So, what we're looking at is, basically $7 million worth of roads for the year.
We could, obviously, the project would start, we were hoping, I believe, October, was that correct, James? To get people on the ground, working on roads.
I mean, gave a date, Jason told us to get 50 miles of road, to start with 50 miles. This is 48 something, you know?
Right.
As close as we get,
Yeah.
and we would go from there.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure we're not gonna do $10 million worth of work.
No.
And this year, you won't ever get it in for one.
No.
No.
So, I mean, it can be narrowed down, and this
Well,
road
it has
can be
to be,
taken
yeah.
off.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the ones I put on here is the ones that need the work. Now, the ones Chris has got on here, some of them I see, some of them I see can wait. They're not as bad. Chris and them going by the priority list, they credit. I'm going by what I've rode.
Yeah, well, you get it right.
So are we catching all the side streets in between?
No, only what's on this list is what we get, but just like in your district, for instance, Prater Street and all that down there, Zorn Road, Zorn Street, well, Zorn Road is off Tri-Mill, but Zorn Street, these are roads that hasn't been done in the park. A lot of them have, but these are just some that hadn't been done to it. Now, he went in Ben's district and got, well, he did it, you see, he got Cardinal Street, Vestavia Lane. Well, you've got Mountain Brook Drive, Old Yatesville Road, and Shady Lane. I mean, my opinion, just my opinion, Cardinal Street don't need to be resurfaced yet. That's just one road and one section. But if you're gonna do Vestavia Lane, you need to do Mountain Brook, Old Yatesville, and, cause they're right there in the same section. They won't catch, like Paul's district, Bishop Road, everything's been resurfaced out there in the last 2 or 3 years, but Bishop Road ain't done been done to it. So you done Jugtown, Corpus Curve, and Stewart Road, so you need to do Jugtown.
No, Bishop.
Bishop, excuse me. He's got Gooden Road on there, Gooden Road's a little dead end pitch path, it's already asphalt. Don't let traffic go down, it don't need that.
I know for my district, since we're looking at Mathis Lake Road.
Yeah.
I know the only thing that's not completed as far as south of town on that end would be, finishing up West Gordon Road. Marcy
It's on.
Drive. Right.
Yeah.
Marcy Drive is still
Yeah.
one street in that area that's not completed. If come off the Indian Trail again, the street right across in front of, Southside Grocery. That little.
Stone Lane.
Stone Lane.
Yeah. Yeah, which may have to go on the next list. I mean, it's hard to, it's not hard, it's hard to pick roads in your district as it is Ben's. Because Ben's the majority of them in the city. But it's hard, but just like Tom McKinley, now they've changed the district lines. Y'all pretty much split Tom McKinley, you split Night Trail. And Night Trail, it needs some attention, because that's a major, everybody travels it in the morning when it's good. It hadn't been resurfaced since '09. So,
Is it on the list?
I added it, but
Yeah.
But see, there again, that's almost 4 miles, cause you got 4 lanes.
Yeah, 4 lane. Yeah, that'll have to be done during school break or something.
Yeah.
So, all right, just so I wrap my head around this, is my first time through this. We're looking at about 7 mil, right? And then we're saying Jeff Davis is on there, and that's almost 2 million.
But we
That's
got,
a lot.
but we got L-Big on it.
But that's included in the 7 mil.
It is.
Yeah. So it leaves about $5 million.
Well, we got 7 million in 2024 SPOS, we have
Okay.
1.5 million in total helping that we can spend. There's LRA and the Jeff Davis, helping grant that's in that total.
Mhm.
So 8.5 would be the total.
8.5, and I'm just saying, hey, let's don't spend all 8.5.
Right.
We wouldn't spend it all this year anyway. And these projects would go on into the next year most likely, and, but I'm just saying, let's hold back a little bit.
That's where I was going to, you got 6.8, that was just.
Yes,
I just
so
said
you're correct, yes,
$7
sir.
million to spend.
Spend.
But it's gonna cost us almost 2 million just to Jeff Davis.
Just Davis, that's correct.
Does that include 30% match on the LMIG?
Well, we would get the 30% match.
Yeah, which would
Yeah.
come out of this much.
Correct.
Yeah.
Jeff Davis Road probably won't get done this year.
You do want to,
It won't get done.
oh, right, it's,
It's gonna wait.
but that's a priority.
Pay it before they get to it.
Yeah, that's the same way we
Yeah.
have to do it.
It's definitely a project you probably just plan for, but do start in 2026. And, if that bridge is done in November.
We have Hannah's Mill on here, but we have, Jeff Davis to Atwater. We don't have Jeff Davis to the bridge.
Okay.
But something needs to be done to that, bad. I mean, people still coming through that, but it's just coming apart. The Hannah's Mill part, from Atwater to Jeff Davis.
Yeah. Yeah.
So between Chris's list and your list is about 10 million, but you have several that you think can come off?
There's some, I mean, we'll have to narrow this down.
Yeah.
But what he came up with, I added too. What you see that I've added is actually roads that's in pretty bad shape. But man, some of his I've been down, can't wait.
That's why I mean, if we just strike those for now, kind of see where we're at with the total number, that is getting us closer to that 7 million.
I mean, I can come up with another list and narrow it down by this, strike out what can wait. For instance, we, is on this list, which is James' district. Vinnie Road's in awful shape, it's still surface treatment, but you got McFarland right next to it. We added McFarland, but McFarland's not that bad, it's asphalt, and it's not that bad. But, you know, it can wait till the next list, but we just trying to get them, we just added them
Yeah.
basically because they're side by side.
Close to each other.
Look, you just take a wash road in each district, and work your way from one end to the other county.
Well, if we did that, it would work, cause all of, we got more poor roads than we got good roads. And they deteriorate quicker and at a faster rate. I mean, you grade a road today, and you go back at 12 months from that day, that road, depending on the traffic, can be totally different. We've seen roads that we thought we could push in 3 years, so we thought we could push Jeff Davis, and look how much it's deteriorated. But traffic makes a big
Yeah.
difference.
And see, it's getting worse since this bridge is out, like, Willingham Springs. That water, it's triple the traffic because people cutting through there. It's just taking a toll on
Spring Creek sure is nice, though.
it. Yeah.
All right, so, just to help me wrap my head around this, all right, so I don't think a project of this size, and so not to speak up, but can we get this? I mean, so if we came up with a $7 million project, are we gonna be able to get that done this year, realistically?
I would say not for the weather.
So, what is our goal here? What do you say if you don't want? What are we gonna, are you saying, the list that we're working on right now needs to be done this year?
Oh, that's right, I'm not saying that at all, right, and this was a list that.
He said come up 50 miles,
Yeah, that's
Right.
and that's what,
But you're saying we only have a X amount of funds to do this?
we have an X amount of funds right this year, and you can look at, we didn't spend a dime. If you just roll down from 8.5 million, forget the reserve, we'll pick up approximately another 771,000 SPOS and another almost 800,000, excuse me, from an LMIG grant, which we can designate a road or roads under that LMIG grant. So, we're looking at close to $10 million cumulatively over a 2-year period. So, that we have, we can spend.
So it's bringing us back to where we're at.
Closer, yes, sir.
So, but these, is these roads that you got, so you have my list, for example, then you got, and James recommends, so this total includes, for my district, includes my list, or not my list, but
The district list.
the district list and James's list. Okay. And just FYI, the reason mine looks, the mine does is Jeff Davis Road.
Oh, yeah, it's 2 million by itself.
If you look at the mileage on, I mean, you're looking at almost, 7.5 miles there. That's one of the that's the longest road we're doing in this project.
Yep, but it needs.
Oh,
I can see that.
Is there any, timeframe where we have to commit that element money?
Good question, I don't know the answer to that. I know when you're applying for new LMIG monies, they wanna know, have you spent the other LMIG, that we granted you already?
So I'm just trying to understand, so, if I understand correctly, we submitted Jeff Davis Road, like, we wanna do this project, and then we got the LMIG money, right? And so, we need to push Jeff Davis Road a little bit at least, right? Because we wanna be able to do the whole road when the bridge is complete.
Right.
And go from 19 to 74 that we're doing.
And, they work with you. We've had, if my recollection is correct, we've had instances where we haven't been able to spend the LMIG because of whatever reason. I definitely agree, it's a solid reason why we don't want to, can't start it right now.
bank owe me money 3 years.
How many?
3. But that's the way DOT, if you gonna have, I mean, you still get it, but like you got one big project, you get, you
Save
can
up
bank it
for it.
3 years.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
all right, I just wanna make sure we get that.
but
And what numbers are we using to come up with these cost estimates? Is that something the DMC put on here, is that something?
there was something EMC put on there, and they were using costs from 2022. So they're looking at.
So, alright, good information. Well, I think everybody here understands cost in 22, and what was driving all that, but that progress left the building, so. And we come in under cost in 22, even when everything was at its oil, stuff was at its highest. So, there's cushion built into this.
Good assumption.
That's why I did it.
We did, we actually, that project with Robinson came in, much lower than we thought it would. So it's a little over 6 million total project. And just to let you know, it's just extra detail, that total that I show you on 2024 SPOS, that's, about, look, right at 3 million left on the bond funds, plus what we've collected on sales tax revenues, minus what we've already distributed in the city, minus the debt service.
James, do you have, I mean, do you see any roads on here? I know you may have mentioned a while ago, hey, we may be able to pass the road, but is there any road that shouldn't be on here?
Shouldn't be on
That should not even be on the list? That you're aware of?
Not really, I mean,
And I mean, I know there's some that may not be, but there's a cost factor in mobilization, so it's right there. I expect sure. Cause you use a road in my district, that was an asphalt road.
Yes.
McFarland,
it's not, I mean, it can wait, is what I'm saying.
but we're already there. We're probably
We're already
gonna
there,
get a
that's the
bill on
reason we
it.
added.
It's going out there to get it. I know them folks on McFarland, they didn't know.
They've been calling you, I mean, the road's not, it's an asphalt road.
They, at the end.
Well, the ends are a whole different.
Yeah, at the end. they go
situation.
out.
But I mean, it's an asphalt road, it's not like Renner's, that's the
Renner-
original road.
It's almost gravel.
Yeah, it's surface treatment, so it's all pieces.
It lasted a long time, but.
Yeah.
So, okay, well,
All right. Again, my first time going through this, I'd like to kind of understand the way ahead. When do we need to submit to be able to execute, right? So we gotta lock this down.
So if we set a goal, we can go back and narrow the list down to the ones that change is recommended. Or anything else that's brought up that we need to add. Calculate an estimate of the cost, determine how much of it that we can realistically get done this year. In fact, we don't have to do that, we can come up with an entire set of roads, to get, a company in here, contractor in here to start work on it before it gets too cold. I'm not familiar with how the temperatures go.
It's gotta be 40 degrees and rising.
Right.
By DOT specs.
So to get some of that started and completed, we need to be advertising, doing an invitation to bid in September, so that we can have folks ready by October. So we generally give 3 to 4 weeks when we put it out on the Georgia Procurement Registry. I know Chris will reach out specifically to the usuals that provide paving services for us. They come in with their bids, it's all spec'd out. Chris's folks will have to spec it all out. They generally write up that spec. They come in to an invitation bid, it goes to the lowest bidder, lowest, most responsive bidder. Now, two, they have to, they have to work it in
there's a bunch of roads, okay, but we can only do so many at a time. If we put this street out, this off the street, for bids, we can always go back and pull roads from it.
That's
So
what I
that-
was gonna say.
don't, I guess, for you guys, you can go back and pull these roads off, say, we're gonna do that. And you can substitute, you can go, well, this road over here doesn't need it this time, it's about the same length. We've been able to do that before too. Cause there's gonna be that road that you've been down, nobody's complaining about, but it's horrible, and it may be right there.
Until you start paving it in the neighborhood.
Right, that's, you're gonna find out when the roads are really bad, once you pave somewhere. But they haven't been complaining, but they will.
I know.
But I guess for you guys, just understanding is, we can put this list out there, and I think I just, hopefully y'all got my gist on this $10 million project, those were 22 prices. We're not paying 22 prices to pay it anymore.
More than likely, it'll be under that, closer to where we.
Probably around 8. But, and we'll be at, you said this was how many miles, James? 48.
It's 48, 48.3.
And if we do find some small road, I mean, it's unusual to have a road, and for me, I don't know that we've ever played a road in my district was, that long. But that's unusual to have that many miles on one road.
How many miles road do we have in the county?
468 miles, basically, that's dirt in. We have less than 40 miles of dirt road, most of it's logging road.
I want to tell you, most ready man, he did a good job on shirt. A real
We go
good
in there and tell
job.
him that, 'cause we pulling our hair out on Martin Church. Oh, yeah, he good job.
How much did we pay last year?
I ain't quite sure. I don't know what the contract was for.
This is it right here, ain't it? 56 miles?
They may have been.
Yeah.
Contract was $6 million.
Right, and we're still really, the work has been done on what
Yeah.
was planned in 2024.
Okay,
I don't know how about the miles,
so 50 miles a year.
Well, we used to rely on LMIG, and we get about 7-8 miles.
Yeah, about 7-8 miles a year.
Yeah,
That's all we
if
did.
we were lucky. This T-Splice is really helping.
I was just trying to do simplicity of like 50 miles a year, 400 miles every 80. I want the road last, I don't know.
Right. Some of these roads been there, you know,
well, and the
they've
debt
been
funding,
paved in 50 years.
bond funding these help us get these projects going right away. You have to just wait for the trickle in of the SPOS. You're doing small projects year after year, and then
We'll put a bigger project out for bid, helps with the numbers too. so.
yeah, oh yeah, the bigger the number, the more attention it's gonna get from it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Cause they can move in here and stay here for a while.
Yeah.
Well, see, you basically only have 2 major contracts in this area. I mean, I don't know who that is, but I don't know where they're from. But when you take somebody like that that's from way off, they've got to buy the asphalt from the competition that bid it on it too. And he's not gonna sell it to them, or he could put it down for, I mean, we've had them bid on it from Alabama, but where they gonna get the asphalt? They're gonna have to get it from the competition.
All right, and, again, just for our notification, the list that we have on the Excel sheet, that grading is dated, right? You look off to the,
That's why it's best to rely on the guy that's got to ride the road every day.
Right.
well, I get you, but I'm just saying, is dated, it has a score, right?
Yeah,
And the basis score, yeah.
And the score is from,
Well,
2017 on the Excel.
Yeah, which is
So,
what Claymore and them did. But then here I have one that was done, 10 years later. They're never gonna be where they prioritize them what you think was bad in '07, you go back and look at 17. Some of them has jumped up higher on the list because they, 10 years, they just deteriorated worse. But in there again, you got two different engineers looking at it.
Well, that was my question, like, that's 8 years ago, that score, and so, you know, the question that I get, and I'm sure all y'all get, is why did you choose this road over that road, right? I would like to be able to point to something and say, this is how we logically made a decision, right? And I get it, you're at the roads, you see the roads, you know the roads, and I'm not discounting that at all, I'm just saying, that's a harder sell to say, well, somebody told me, this road, so, but we're not there yet, but, I think we need to, I try to get there at some point. But right now, we're in a time crunch, we got a month basically to put this out if we want to get something, this year. So will the Jeff Davis be included in this? Will it just be done after the first of the year? How does that work? If it's $10 million.
Yeah, I mean, they won't be able to do all this, I mean.
Right,
like
they're
I
not gonna
said,
get it done in a month.
They're still finishing up they're still working today on our project from last year, so this is gonna be a multi-year thing. I mean, we'll be back here again, hopefully a little sooner, next year, looking forward, with the project. But yeah, I mean, and once again, we have the abilities to, when we put this out here, we don't have to do anything, we don't have to do anything.
Right.
We can put it out there and it comes back and.
Well, we'll at least have a better pricing. We'll know where we're at.
Right, we can, you know, we'll know where we're at, once we see the pricing, but, and I get it, I know what you're saying, you know, but how did you decide you're gonna do this road? Well, you know, and what I found out is if it was listed in 2017, and they've done, Chris and them have done something since 2017. I know they've reevaluated since then, cause we've asked them to, but, you know, I'm making a pretty big assumption here, but if it was poor in 2016, 2017, it's gonna be bad, it's gonna be terrible now. That's our problem, is we can update that, we should have an updated list that shows the roads that we paved, and it said, the last assessment I looked at, it had the roads that we have fixed on there. And, it included it, so I don't necessarily know why that assessment date shows on those.
Alright, so are we in general agreement that we put this out on the street?
For sure. Get the ball rolling. See where the numbers come in at, and then we have James look at the ones that could possibly come off, and we're teed up, ready to go, pull those off if we need to.
Alright, so this is just work, right? We don't need to vote on anything until we get something back, we narrow it down.
Right.
Alright.
So, but can we agree, I'm gonna get this as a group and on video so I can have it. So, we agree that these are the roads that we're looking to put out here, because in the past, we've agreed
And they got changed.
and then, cause I got roads on here that people saying, you told me my road was getting paved, and I was like, your road's supposed to be getting paved, then it got taken off the list. I just wanna make sure we all agree.
Alright, so this is the initial list that we're gonna put out the bid.
And
Now pick one of these roads off the Old Maid list. For the Old Maid. Oh, it is. Let me get, yeah, let me get,
Well, you gonna have, well, I don't know.
You got, 912.
We don't know when that's going.
That's a pretty big one, and then,
I think it has Mill Bridge coming up.
West Haven, what road?
It wasn't supposed to be 26.
I can
Start.
start the roads on it.
Big one.
Start.
Shouldn't take them near as long as it did.
Why I struggle with
10 Mile Creek Bridge.
Pull off the ones that get you to that.
I think it's curved in and out now.
I think that'll be fine.
Yeah.
Mud Bridge,
26.
If I have one person, that's just.
So,
Those are just
They
big
got-
ones.
we need to put that on the consent that we're gonna move forward. said we need to put that on the
Tom McKinley,
consent, if
I
we're
see.
moving forward.
All
we
my
need to
guys
know.
mowing
Yeah,
grass
to go
every day.
in and right
I got
there.
one
Damn.
there, that's my
We need to put this on the consent that we're moving forward.
Equipment operator too.
You do?
I would
Dump
think so.
truck driver.
For the
They on
helmet?
No.
No, for the
No.
road.
This is the list you want
Yeah,
for us.
Send it out.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Send it out.
Yeah, yeah.
So you put it on.
And it'll be in the minutes, everybody can access it, if you want to see it. Okay.
And none will mysteriously disappear.
Right, and then when do we need to choose the LB for next year?
Well, we picked, there's a couple of roads, like for example, Tom McKinley, Knight's Trail, or two that would be enough there.
What we'll do is we can separate them out and just on the consent say these are Elmeg and then the other.
So the window is open.
That trail.
Mhm.
Front off good early.
State truck driver. Done it, oh, man.
See, that was on the list too. I don't know. I wasn't the guy taking them off the list before, so.
Oh, man, y'all not remember us saying we made the night trail?
I thought that was one.
We agreed,
Yeah.
I've been digging 2 years to get
Okay.
ready.
All right, any more discussion on the road? Do we need any further discussion on the road? We know where we're going right now?
I do.
Okay. Next item is, employee vacation accrual.
Right. This kind of also ties into the roads we're talking about also. We have 6 vacancies in the road department, right?
That's correct.
The most phone calls that I received lately has been that, trees are down, the grass needs to be mowed, the roads are flooding out, they came out, did work on the road, now the mud is washing down the street.
Yeah.
But when you're 6 employees short, it kind of makes it hard to fulfill all those obligations that you have.
Let me ask a question. How many of them on the road though? How many's in the shop?
Well, no vacancies, I have 4, but there's supposed to be 24 of us, and I count 3 of us in the office, 4 in the shop, and the rest on the road. This should be basically, right now I've got 8, 9, 10, 11 folks on the road. There should be close to 17,
So the road.
18. So what I've had to do for the last 3 years is I have to, all my guys on track, Monday through Thursday, they're mowing grass. That's my equipment operator, everything. And then on Fridays, we have to, that's the only day that we don't mow grass. Great all has to go out, dig the ditches when we get requests and things like that, because I don't have the people to do it Monday through Thursday. And we mow grass in this county, a lot of people, you're gonna find out, to say their grass don't get mowed. We got 468 miles of road to mow. You gotta double that, it's almost 900 miles of grass. We cut it 3 times a year. We start April the 1st, it takes us 2.5 months. That's 6 tractors running, 3 north, 3 south, to get all around this county. In 3.5 months, we're starting over, where we started again. Takes 2.5 more months. And we mow all the way up to Thanksgiving. And sometimes it's a little past Thanksgiving, depends on how warm or fall we have. We have mowed 4 times, because we really get no frost. So, the roads get mowed, but they don't get mowed like that, they think. And the rain we've had this year, which y'all know, it's been a battle. You take, for instance, Delray, and y'all can't, that's done been mowed twice. And this last time it got mowed, the end of June. Well, look at it. And see, we should be finishing up to write this round, which is the second round, by the end of August. We'll get close, but we're halfway now.
I think one of the biggest things as far as keeping a lot of vacancies filled, that once, if you were to, I'm gonna say, sole provider for your family and you take on the job with the county itself, you really don't have vacation time. You know, you come on, you start, give you 20 hours of sick time, but no vacation time. You have to work a whole year before the vacation time even starts. I would like For the new employees that we hire, we still give them that 20 hours of, sick time. But after a 90-day time period, also give them 20 hours of vacation time. But if that employee leaves before a year's time is up, then we don't owe them anything. All that time comes back to the county.
They've been there used it time.
Yeah, they gonna get you, they gonna use 20 hours and they gonna turn in their notice and get gone.
But if you think about it, that time-wise, that is only, in the year's time period, you give them 5 days. That's sick time and vacation time. It's 5 days.
So I thought you meant 20 hours sick and 20 hours.
That's 40 hours
vacation.
altogether, that's it. That's a week's time.
So, just to clarify, we get 8 hours a month sick leave.
That's right.
Everybody gets it starting from the beginning, the first day they walk in the door. You get 8 hours a month and it accrues.
So 1 day a month.
But no vacation time.
And if you just started the job and you got a sick child at home, you're at home a couple of days with that child, then you're done for the whole month.
I just gonna share my personal experience, not with Canada, we went through something similar to that with the company I work for. And this is how it impacts me as a manager trying to control it. Alright, so, you got tenured guys that's been there 5, 10 years, but their vacation time, they get a lot more vacation time. They're using typically a lot more vacation time. You got a guy starts there, within the first 6 months, he takes some time off. Typically, when time's available, time's gonna be used. Well, what I find myself in is a situation where I got a tenured employee who's off, and then I got this new hire that's been there 3 or 4 months, and he's ready to take a week off. And I find myself a staff shortage more than I do when they didn't have that time. But that's just my experience. I mean, so if he's got a guy that starts at the road department and other than coming in the door saying, hey, no, but I got a vacation plan this day, he's just gonna let him off, he's not gonna get paid for it. Versus guys gonna come in and say, I wanna be off 3 days next week. A lot of times, especially with these new employees, I mean, what's the typical new hire at the road department? I know we just talked about one department, right? What, on a typical new hire, how long does a typical new hire, you figure out and they figure out if they're gonna be there or they're gonna go? How long does that typically last?
Usually, if they still there within a year, the anniversary, they usually don't stay. But, I mean, I've had them anywhere not make it 2 days.
Or they say they're leaving because they don't have vacation. I'm making an assumption here, but I say they're leaving because they say they have vacation.
They have to work.
Yeah, they have to work.
The problem I have with sick leave, which is, it's abuse. If I ain't got no vacation, I'm gonna call in sick.
Bingo. Because you have.
But the ones that get punished, and I ain't taking up for me, cause I've been here forever, is the ones that max out 480 hours. I lose a day a month. Roger loses a day a month. You have no incentive to not use, abuse. Max out, you have no incentive. They say, we got a nickname for them, get a day, take a day. That's what they do. They call in.
And so you will only be giving this new employee 2.5 days a year to start with. As far as vacation time after the first 90 days.
Well, I think before, we would have to, probably have to talk to the sheriff, cause he's the highest employer in the county. And, he's already mentioned it to me, so,
What's that?
that would work for him.
What one more?
Give them vacation before they really earned it.
it's not fair to the employees to have to work a whole year to get fresh vacation.
Anywhere I ever worked, I didn't get vacation first.
Most places accrue PTO time.
Well, that's PTO's
Yeah,
different.
it's the same thing.
PTO is different.
PTO and vacation is the same thing in a matter of speaking.
Well,
It's
maybe,
still considered vacation time.
maybe we need to discuss PTO time. We on PTO, we on vacation.
Vacation time.
Vacation is good.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
And I understand, we've been trying to get a PTO for, quite a while now, to just do away with the vacation sick. I don't know if that's a better plan than vacation sick. But we did reach somewhat of an impasse, Justin, am I saying this correctly, with the sheriff on the number of total hours. So, I agree with Commissioner Jones, but I'll say too that whatever policies the sheriff doesn't want to follow, they don't necessarily always operate by our policies. He will be matter of fact dealing with that. So it doesn't mean that he has to follow whatever policy that the board chooses to adopt. He can go, like, for example, we have, in our policy, we allow, and I've done this several times, to gift people sick time, because I've got a lot of sick time. And he doesn't allow that for his folks. I think we extended the bereavement leave to 3 days. That's not his policy, so I know that one's pretty fresh, because one of his employees tried, to use our policy, and he's like, no, we don't follow it. So, and that's no disrespect to him, he can formulate his own policy.
So we have Board of Commissioner employees, and then we have constitutional officer.
Correct, and they can choose to follow, our policies, or they can have their own policies with respect to time off, or, as I understand.
I
Correct me.
fully understand what Chris is saying. I've seen it in my workplace, they made some changes. I think it's worth, HR sitting down and coming up with some proposals where we can see, here's a couple proposals, here's the pros and here's the cons, whether it's PTO, whether it's sick and personal time. I don't think we're gonna, figure it out right here. It's gonna have to be something we have to examine, we gotta put some thought into that, because, whatever you do, you're probably not gonna, anticipate every, result that could come from that decision. I mean, there's some second, third order effects to every decision that you make, and you're like, oh, I didn't think of that. But we do need to put some thought into it and make the best decision that we can. And so, I think that's something we can, turn to HR, Chris has got ideas, let's put them out there and then just put it on a separate agenda and walk through it one day.
We've got some, she's put together some things in the past.
Our goal should be to hire and retain good employees.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Alright, so what happened to the PTO? Why?
Well, it lost steam.
Nobody could come up with an agreement on on the amount of time. So the issue that you run into.
I'm listening to you.
The issue that you run into is when you have employees that have already been here for 15 years, 20 years, and they've accrued sick and vacation, and they're at their max at those things. Well, we wanna make sure that people that are coming on can utilize some of that time, but at the same time, you don't wanna punish the employees that you've had there for 15, 20 years. So you don't wanna take away from them to give to the new people that, just to make it, I guess, better for the new people that come along. And just to add to the part about the PTO, when we were discussing it before, and when you had the conversation with the sheriff, what you have to remember is we're on different shifts. So the sheriff has 12-hour shifts mostly. And most of his people work 3, off 2. So they have off days during the week that they can plan around to do whatever. The BOC people don't really have those options because most of them are Monday through Friday. You see what I'm saying? So it's differences in his department and the other group of people. But the reason we didn't come to a conclusion on PTO is because we couldn't agree on the number of hours, basically.
So you have to take the current employees and convert their time.
And the time that was wanted was less than what they currently get when you think about sick and vacation together.
So it was easy to do the 8 hours of sick time per month, then after year's time period, give them the vacation
So
time.
that's the way it currently was. Then I guess it's been maybe a year ago when we had the PTO conversation. A year ago, we were having a PTO conversation and couldn't really come to an agreement on the number of hours. So then that's when we said, because the whole point in it was to start looking out for earlier employees. So that's when we said, well, if we can't do PTO to get the new employees time after a certain period of time, why not just go ahead and give them some vacation at some point? Not as soon as they walk in the door, but 90 days or, whatever amount of days, and then don't allow them to be paid out anything if they leave.
So, do any of y'all have STO in y'all's organizations? So STO, like, we use that with new employees, that's called scheduled time off, right? And so, you come on board, you don't have any vacation, but you have a family reunion you need to travel to, you have something you wanna do, you got someone graduating, and so we allow, 40 hours during the year of STO. So you can say, hey, I wanna be at this event with my family during this period of work time, and I'm putting in a request ahead of time for STO. That means, okay, yes, we understand you're not gonna be here that Thursday and Friday, but you're not getting paid. But you let us know well in advance. It's not like a no-call, no-show, or calling out the day of, or whatever. That's just another option. And I think we have to go back to the table and look at options and come up with something. I don't think we're gonna solve it today, but I think there's different ways to do things in the HR world, so. All right. Any more discussion on that? All right. I'll circle back to the 6 vacancies though, and the cutting the grass. I do cut my grass on Fire Tower and Charlie Jones all the time.
Appreciate it.
Well, you could widen it just a little bit, just right.
Creeping in.
Well, I don't have
Yeah,
one.
do the other side, right.
I don't have one of those reach down, so my zero turn only goes certain angles. But I would ask, and I talked to Jason about this previously when I first came. I know over in Troup County, they have a contract, grass is just cut 3 times a year. And I don't know if that is more beneficial than having 6 vacancies that we can't fill. If we have someone that's cutting the grass and we're just paying them by the mile, what does that equate to as far as the number of personnel? And can we have more personnel doing actual road stuff? There's something to think about. You probably already thought about it, but I'd be glad to hear your thoughts on that.
It's been brought up.
Yeah. All right. Okay, I digress. Next up is 2025 second quarter financials.
All right, Mr. Chairman, and Commissioners, I will go very quickly through this unless you pause me and say I have a question. You've kind of got a very high level of this in that one pager that I used to say, hey, let's stick with the budget and millage rates. But I didn't want to sacrifice coming to you and giving you a little more detail. This one is not as detailed as the one I did in the first quarter. I did that one, for the benefit of the chairman and Commissioner Biggs, to add some more level of detail, kind of show you just, how our budgets look with respect to constitutional officers and elected officers versus the rest of the county. Very first page is just an overview of all of our funds, what the budgets are. These budgets were updated based on recent budget amendments you all approved and where we stand overall for everything. And these are our governmental funds that we're required by law to budget for every year. They don't include our capital projects funds. Law doesn't require budgets for those, but it does include our debt service funds and all of these other smaller funds, including our primary ones. When I refer to primary, I'm talking about the primary operating, general fund, joint projects fund, 911, and rec. Those are, and spur bluff, those include all of the funds for which we have personnel operating in them. Okay, the rest, not. So we're on track, as of 6:30, no problems there. Page 2, I just lay out a comparative of each of those primary funds, how we looked last year, how we looked this year in terms of budgets. I did include, what you see there are the amended budgets and actual, BTA's budget to actual. So last year we were 43% of budget. This year, June 30, we were 46% of total budget. Those are good signs. If we're 55, 60%, then there's something wrong. Okay. Page 3, take those same funds and break it down into the major or primary expenditure classifications. As you all know, personnel employee services is the largest portion of our total budgets. We look good. I will say that vacancies throughout, and it doesn't have to be many, but vacancies is the largest reason that we're that far below in terms of our budget to actual at 43.5%. Now, vacancies change, so some of those positions since that time could have been refilled. Mr. James referred to 6 vacancies. Now, I will say 2 of those we didn't budget for. So we've kind of had those 2 on ice for 2 years now.
Yeah, Jason.
Right.
Frozen, we didn't
Frozen.
eliminate them, we froze them.
So, yeah, but there are 4 vacancies. There are 4 vacancies in there that affect, overall, our wage and salary budget. Page 4. General fund, the largest operating fund we have. I thought, hey, this will be good. Let's break general fund down and show you both revenues and expenditures. You would not expect our taxes, obviously, to be 50% of budget at this point. But what I did do is I gave you the forecasted, and those numbers should jive right back to the one pager that I presented for the millage rate. So I'm projecting that we have, that's a projection or a forecast, a $31,000 shortfall at the end of the year. I'm hoping it's better than that. Now, let me just say one thing that sometimes, and it can get lost when we start talking about budgets and everything. Last year, of course, when we were in the budget season, there was emphasis that we did not want to, we had just increased millage rates for 2024. We didn't want to produce a budget with reflecting another increase in millage rates. We wanted to hold those millage rates constant, and we basically did with the budget. There is, within the general fund, there's $100,000 of miscellaneous. That is basically a allocation of the fund balance to balance the budget. That's not uncommon that we've done that before, but to get the numbers to balance out. So if we hit that mark at $32,000, also considering that we would be using some of our, it'd be $132,000, if that makes sense. Because part of our revenue was using prior year or accumulated fund balance to balance our budget. So those things aren't uncommon, you just don't wanna do that too much, too big, too often, or you lose fund balance. Okay, just cash, here's where we are as of, actually, I went ahead and pulled in the August 1st cash numbers. Always gets tight this time of the year, that's when I get nervous and start watching everything very carefully. You can see where our general fund is, you can see where our general fund was at December. We're always flush with cash in December. But we just got paid for what we spent the previous 10 months, right, November, December. Then if we increase our budget, that's the other thing, if we increase the size of our budget and increase our spending, it makes it even tougher that next year. So we're watching cash flow carefully to make sure, it'll get a little low, but when October gets here, I can breathe more easily because that insurance premium comes in about $1.6 million. So, projected balances, I show the projected balances below. So on the project fund cash balances, I used the 731. The reason I do that is that now our SPOS dollars, other than 2016, there's very little left. Those monies are held in a custodial account by Synovus. They don't have, right now, they don't have the capability for me to go in and just look at the balance in the account. I have to request, they send us statements about middle of the first week after a month in. So I just called them and got the balance at 731. That's why you see, otherwise I would give you the 8 first. It's not much difference though, but it can be depending on what checks come through. So what I'm doing is projecting the cash, the balances in each of those funds in future years. The LMIG, the 2022 and 2024 SPOS dollars. And those projections come from the second page on the back, page 6, where I kind of detail out the cash receipts, cash disbursements. And these are all pretty much estimates. So what we're gonna have to pay the city of Thomaston is based off of what we actually collect. But we've been holding steady really on transportation and SPOS dollars. So that's a good thing. And then I put in the proprietary funds, the water services fund and the solid waste fund on the back of the page. I will tell you for this budget season, I probably will, we haven't increased solid waste fees in a while. So the GFL is going up, but we have not, and we probably want to look at increasing the solid waste service fees. We went up on water, we did increase water rates last year. We've had sufficient fund balance though to carry us on the solid waste side. That's why when you see the projected, we budgeted the revenue enough at least to balance the budget. But the projected dollars are much less than, much less than the actual adopted budget. That's all I have for, any questions? Do you ever have, any of you have a question whatsoever, or want to see something, or just let me know, we can produce it for you, in as much detail as you'd like to see it.
Okay. Next item is also UAS, budget directives, 2026.
Okay, yes, sir. So you should have 2 pages. One is an excerpt. You can ignore the budget message from the county manager. This commissioners and managers budget priorities, what we prepared last year, is something we began doing, I think, in 2023, perhaps, where we kind of put things down in writing to get some, at least some directives, if you will, from the board in terms of how we would approach our future budget. what I did is I took that list and made some modifications to it. And I wouldn't say, Mr. Chairman, that this is something that you have to necessarily, approve or put in the consent agenda, but it's something, because you all may wanna take time to go through it and say, hey, I think we need to change this or that, or add something to it, and I can certainly do that. So you don't have to come up with an answer, but last year we did limit the COLA to the step, so we really didn't, in essence, give a COLA last year. The increase in pay was 1.75, that was applied for most everyone, even the sheriff, did his, we budgeted the steps at 50%. There were, I think, one maybe constitutional officer that chose something different, or at least gave everyone their step day one or January 1. I do know, like with the sheriff, we just applied his steps for this next pay period. So, he doesn't do his on anniversary day, he just takes everyone and gave everyone a step as of July. I just did some, just quick analysis, if you look on the back of the page, just to give some reference, where I take the CPI and compared that to the Upson, COLAs. So that is, when you see Upson, that's a combination of a COLA and a step. So in 2022, there's one caveat there. In 2022, that's for everyone but the Sheriff's Department, or Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff's Office, the board approved a 15%, so I've left that out, so as not to skew that number, but just to let you know, if we were looking at that total increase for Sheriff's Office, that number would be much higher. In 2023, what we did was we basically took the entire pay scale for everyone and applied not a percentage but a dollar level increase per grade. We had a lot of folks that were really way down there on the pay scale. A lot of them were part-time people, and we increased. So the largest dollar increase was $2,800 down to $1,000. And that ultimately worked out to a 7.6% total increase in pay. And these numbers don't exclude, this is everybody too, it's constitutional and all, so that's the increase for 2023. 2024, we did a overall 3.1% increase in total pay, and then 2025, 1.75%. That 3.8 is I think that number's correct. I want to make sure. That's a combination of I believe that was a 2% COLA plus. Let me just back up and say, I think the COLA was, and
It was a split out.
Sir?
It was a split, we split it up, I don't know the exact number, but the total was the 3.3.
Yeah, yes, sir, that's correct. So 3.08% was the increase, and 1.75% was 2025. So I just laid everything out on a chart, a diagram, to show you where we were with respect to CPIs through those years. The CPI for 2025, and that is the percentage increase June 25 over June 24, 2.13%. That's how I came to a recommendation, if you will, of a COLA of 2.2% and continue with the steps budgeted at 50%. Now, we did halt the increases for kids last year, so we didn't prohibit folks from taking courses. But no one was allowed to get a pay increase, because for so many hours you get a step. So you can earn up to like 6 steps over a 3-year period. So we limited that. I did put a caveat, that if we bring it back, we limit it to 2 increases per employee. But we don't have, that's up to the board. I think if you spoke with Charles, I said, when we looked at the percentage increase, our percentage increase in our net digest this year was approximately 13%. Can't say we see that kind of increase in 2026. That even includes the large increase in our, because of our floating homestead exemption. Our exemptions went up, but we still had about a 13% increase. And just talking to him and based on some things that he's seeing and some recent sales of commercial properties, 5% is not unrealistic to assume in terms of the increase in our net digest next year. So we're looking at a 5% growth, holding current millage rates where they are without increasing a mill on anything. That would give us about $470,000 more in revenue. That's a ballpark estimate. So what I'm trying to say is that, with any of these increases, and budgets will increase for one reason or the other, but particularly when you start increasing the largest expenditure we have, it moves the total county budget, the general fund in particular, significantly. We just have to be able to show, or be able to fund that or absorb that, in fund balance. And I know the particular appetites with respect to increasing millage rates and so forth. But these are simply just thoughts and recommendations. I did poll some counties around us. I can provide that information to you all in an email or however you want it. I couldn't get every county to respond, but I got some of our closest counties to us, what they're currently doing. So, in terms of COLAs or increases.
So when we talk about COLAs, increases for personnel, we did just absorb the healthcare costs. So Shree's supposed to come back at us next month.
We are coming back at you next month.
Back at us next month, and we're gonna talk about it, right?
Correct. We had Shree has been out, had to leave sick yesterday, so had to call the bridge yesterday. I invited Jessica to join on the call. So they've got some plans for us, some thoughts on how we can manage those variable costs better. And those are the costs that, the doctor's visits, the prescription costs, and looking at some other things, some partial self-funding of our healthcare, to be able to control those costs. Now, whether we will absorb, see that much yes, the percentage increase in premiums went up roughly 14%. What can affect that, obviously, you can't count on this, is turnover, people hired, whether they have dependents or not. Or the other way around, folks, if their spouse loses a job or loses their health care, now they're adding on their whole family. So, the employer's portion of that can go up or down.
So we're looking for a policy recommendation, based on, local governments, corporate America, what percentage of the healthcare premium should we laying out from the county or employee? September is like research based. This is what is the there's no big surprises, next time around.
Correct.
That's what we agreed on, I'm saying.
Right, we'll give you that much
Numbers around the
more.
corner.
Give you that much more. I mean, we've gotta have a plan, not just on the shifting of employees paying more, but how we can control, some options to look at, you know, getting control of some of those costs. So we will have that prepared for you for the next work session.
Okay.
But, so
Go ahead.
what, at least on the compensation area, I mean, take this and look at it, but give me an idea of what you guys, or what the board may be willing to consider approving in terms of a COLA for 2026. That's a big driver of our budget, so we can start now, and we can also make everyone aware within the county, this is what the board is willing to, you know, approve or not approve in terms of the COLA. So, if you be prepared for that by the next, our board meeting's end of this month, third week of this month. If not, I'll go with the 2% for now.
Yeah, I think we gotta have more data, right? Because it's a total compensation, right? It's not just the paycheck, right? When we look at what we're paying for the healthcare benefits, right? We have, all that rolls up into that 64% of our budget, that is personnel costs. So we need all that kind of tied together. So we gotta figure out, you know, how we manage that. That is the largest part of the budget. I don't think we can just look at it isolated as what is the COLA. We gotta look at it, what is the total compensation, what are we providing the employee for their services.
Okay, sure. I'll prepare that for you, get it to you all as quickly as I can, that's not difficult to do.
Yeah, I just think a lot of it ties back to the healthcare being the largest portion of that benefit package. So. All right, what else?
That's it.
On the agenda.
That's it for the agenda.
Well, that part of it is in.
Yeah. All right, so next thing on the agenda is executive session for personnel. Can I have a motion to move into executive
So
session?
moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Collins, second by Commissioner
Mr. Chairman, should I leave?
Yeah, well, we're gonna go to executive session, it's gonna be, elected officials only. No.
You gonna keep the, I mean, out here together. Yeah,
Okay.
tell me. Leave, that's all, just a leave, stay here.
I think we can leave, any from us, any motions that we
Yeah.
did. All in favor of executive session, say aye.
So moved.